Thank you. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. You have to switch on, number. It helps the sound effect. So I've been told to stand in the light, but I can't see you. Can you see me?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. So thanks for coming this evening. You're very welcome. And it's great to be in Bath again for the second time with our festival. We had some introduction to this culture, this philosophy, going back to very ancient times of spiritual India. Of course, this kind of wisdom is beyond geographical designation, as well as beyond temporary labels, like it's not exactly like Hinduism or Christianity or Muslim faith. It's not really a faith. It's wisdom or knowledge. Veda actually means what is true or what is reality. So it's the study of reality. We all have relative ideas what is reality, as we saw in the film, Who Am I? There's many different ideas. But there's certain things that... Sorry?
Bring us the light.
Bring over the light?
No, bring us the light.
Bring you the light. Yeah, here it is. So the different views on who I am, it's a very important question for especially human beings. We have a different level of consciousness than the animals are more concerned with self-preservation, like eating and sleeping, mating, defending. We also have some aspect of that in our lives, but as human beings, we are designed, if you like, or we have that capacity to make these inquiries, to philosophize, to inquire about who am I, and what is the nature of the world, the universe, where did we come from, what happens when we die. So in the higher levels of the Vedas, the more conclusive aspects of the knowledge deal with these topics. And primarily, the first explanation is for us to understand that what we're experiencing in this world is a combination of two energies, namely, as mentioned, matter or antimatter, or spiritual energy. So it's very simple to understand the basic fundamental principles of material energy. Matter is made of elements like earth, water, fire, air, and ether, or space. And that matter is actually not conscious. Matter is dead. It's a dead energy. But there's another superior energetic principle which belongs to a different dimension, the spiritual dimension. And that is also in this world. It's manifest in terms of living consciousness. So each one of us, for example, is an individual living entity. And each one of us, we have our own consciousness. We are perceiving the world around us through our senses, with our mind, intelligence. So the Vedas explain that as well as the gross elements of matter, earth, water, fire, air, ether, there's also subtle elements that we're experiencing, like the mind, the intelligence, and in Sanskrit what is called ahankara, or false ego, false idea of who we are. So this was the theme of the film, just to get us thinking about this topic. Who am I? So we may say, like some of the people in the film, you know, one guy was Italian, I can say I'm Scottish, you may say you're English or Anyone from any other country here? Are you all English? You're from?
Holland.
Holland. Okay. From India. Okay, so these are places where we took birth in these bodies, geographically, but it's some people actually change their nationality. A lot of people come to different countries, they get different passports, so then they're, you know, they say they're, oh, I'm not Russian anymore, I'm American, or so these things can change. Even a religious faith can change. If I say, who are you or what are you? You may say, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Muslim or Buddhist. So these things also change. A few years ago, we may have thought of ourselves like what age we are. You know, do any of you remember when you were much younger, like a child? Like we have an example here. A few examples, actually.
I remember when I was born.
You remember when you were born? That's a very good memory you got.
And I had 3 vessels to go into.
3 what?
3 vessels.
Vessels.
I had a choice.
Uh-huh. So we all pretty much, well, without exception, I'm sure it's a scientific fact, we all used to have a child's body. The body grew up into a youth, into middle age, then it's going to grow older and older each day, as is the pattern of nature. So there's still something within ourselves who is experiencing those changes, the things which are changing, whether it's nationality, age of the body, religious faith or political belief, or so many different experiences we go through in the stages of life. But the person within, the self, who's experiencing those external changes and observing all this, that individual self, individual conscious being, belongs to a different energy than matter, a spiritual energy. So in other words, we're all spiritual beings beyond the material elements. And as much as we are each an individual, each body, whether it's human beings or dogs or trees, these different bodies are each a manifestation, each an individual embodiment of an individual living creature, living being. And as I was saying, in the human form, our consciousness is of a higher level. And then there's different gradations through the different species of life. Similar to Darwin's theory, but on a more subtle spiritual level, we're experiencing different bodies according to different levels of consciousness. And when we reach the human form of life, we have this higher level of consciousness where we can make spiritual inquiries about the absolute truth and try to become self-realized. So that's the basic nutshell of the Vedic teachings. And Krishna consciousness means not a kind of a religious designation or a mental adjustment or something, but it's actually getting down to self-realization, to remove those temporary designations or identities that we have to do with the body and the physical world around us, the mental, subtle platform. So above matter is the senses, above the senses is the mind, and above the mind is the intelligence. But the final observer, the highest level is the living entity himself, or you could say the soul, or the living being, the self. So the self, I'll just briefly conclude that the Eastern, if you like, or the different spiritual philosophies have different levels of understanding the self, because initially we can understand that the self or the spiritual living entity is something different from matter. So there's a sort of a philosophy of negation, that we're not persons. We no longer become persons when we're free from matter. Like when we're liberated, we become void, or we just lose our identity and become one with everything. That's the initial stage of understanding that we're not matter. But in Krishna consciousness, we don't actually kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater. In other words, we have to understand that this world is a combination of matter and spirit. So it's not that everything in this world is material. It is only the dead part that is matter. But the living part, the living force, who we are, is actually spiritual. So just like if you're in hospital, let's say this material condition is like a disease, and you're in hospital. So you get the treatment, the medicine, and you get cured and you're better. So you may feel initially happy that you're better, but then you want to, what do you want to do next?
Stay better.
Stay better, definitely. Have fun, exactly. That's the perfect answer. We want to actually go back to our normal life and have fun. So similarly, in a spiritual sense, we don't just want to negate matter and get rid of the identification with matter, but we want to go to our real life, our real spiritual enjoyment and fun. And that is the higher level of self-realization. So as much as we are individual spiritual persons, we are part of the Supreme Spirit, and the personality who we are, we're like a tiny little particle of the Supreme Person. So in other words, what I'm explaining is that personality, as we know it in this material world, is a reflection or a shadow of the original substance, the original object that we are trying to uncover as the spiritual being who we are. And that spiritual being is a part of the Supreme Spiritual Being. And that Supreme Spiritual Being, that you can call the Absolute Truth, the Complete Whole, the Supreme Spirit, that is a spiritual personality, the Supreme Personality. So that is the meaning of the word Krishna. Now, as much as we are individual spiritual beings, personalities, we're connected with the Supreme Spirit, and that connection is reawakened, and that is the meaning of the word yoga. Yoga means to link or to reconnect with our spiritual identity as eternal lovers of the Supreme Personality, Krishna. So I'll try to keep it short and just summarize the essence of what Prabhupada, our founder teacher, is explaining to us, because you see we're always chanting and dancing, and we have our different aspects to the culture, like the food and many different things. But in essence, that's the foundation, that we're spiritual beings, and we are part of the Supreme Spiritual Being, Krishna. And what we're doing here with the chanting and everything, we're trying to link in love, in devotion, devotional service to the Supreme Krishna. So it is, but it's not a sectarian thing, like it's not, you know, my God can beat up your God, or this religion is better than that. Because this principle of devotion is there in all spiritual traditions, whether it's prayer or meditation or service. These are all things which are meant to awaken our dormant love for God or Krishna. So I think I've said enough. I'll just stop there. Any quick questions, or anyone like to? Yes, sir?
In the years that you've obviously been senior for the Hare Krishna. What's your definition, your personal definition of happiness after all your experience in life? What did you find in what you have?
Thank you very much. A nice question. It's a personal question. I think anyone who practices this Krishna consciousness or spiritual life, you see, a lot of the times in our normal affairs in the world, our standard of happiness is not very substantial, because let's look at the nature of the world, the nature of life, without being overly pessimistic. It's not a very comfortable place in this material world. We are subjected to very difficult conditions. So often we find that we are just spending our time trying to make adjustments to the conditions in a way that gives us some relief. Whether it's getting some money, adjusting the temperature, or whatever, getting some relief from working hard, or hypothetical. I'm not sure, but so the question is about happiness. So the standard of happiness that we're used to is actually often just a relief, like, we're bursting for the toilet, then we go to the toilet and we think we're happy. But it's just, or we're standing at the bus stop, when's the bus going to come so I can sit down? And the bus comes, we sit down, we're happy now. But after an hour or two, we're like, when am I going to get off this bus? So it's all very relative, temporary adjustments and relief from different kinds of sufferings. So the difference with spiritual happiness is it is much more substantial and lasting, and it's very it's not a temporary thing. The spiritual happiness one gets from spiritual activities. It's a very deep, substantial, and it's not something that it's a self-manifested happiness that each of us can experience if we try it. For example, of course, if you eat a good meal when you're hungry, you don't need to analyze and fill in a questionnaire. You know that your hunger is satisfied and you're full. So in the same way, in the spiritual example, the happiness is very substantial and very kind of self-manifesting. Very deep, very free spirit. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thanks a lot. I hope that was all right. One more question, perhaps? Who's at the back? I can't really see.
Tracy.
The gentleman right at the back, yeah?
Yeah. What was it say, actually? You bless us all.
Sorry?
Give energy to us all.
Can energy?
Let us run free.
Did anyone catch that?
He wants to be blessed with good energy.
Oh, yeah, thank you, yeah.
I'm fine.
Oh, you're all right.
Everybody else is
we're all
like,
going to be
I'm alright.
blessed. Right, good energy. Spiritual.
They've got to find it themselves, haven't they?
Huh?
Not that they've got it. They've got to find it for themselves.
You have to listen.
We have to awaken it within ourselves. It's within everyone.
Oh.
It's within everyone else.
Ladies,
Huh?
ladies, find your own energy and be blessed.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Quite
Okay.
energetic.
Thanks a lot.
Try.